Hi everyone, it's Sarah from Spirited Saturdays, and Alena and I are going to talk about recovery and relapse. First of all, though, I wanted to mention that I haven't posted live in about 4 weeks, and I am aware that I have lost a little bit of weight. I am having a bit of a harder time than I usually do, and I understand that that can be really upsetting for people who are in the earlier stages of recovery to see someone who diligently maintains they're in recovery having such a hard time. But I'm also really big on honesty, and although I think it's really important to show everybody how awesome and how incredible and how wonderful life can be the way it's supposed to be, as in like you're in recovery and that's how amazing life can be, I think it's also really important to acknowledge that there are ups and downs, and so I'm a little bit more down than up. And I definitely don't mean to upset anyone. And if watching me does upset you for that reason, then I would encourage you maybe just to either do something else while you listen, or open another tab or something like that, or talk about it with someone after too. I can understand how that would be upsetting. I am very much still in recovery. I do believe that I will get better, and I have faith that this will pass. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. So recovery and relapse, they do tend to go hand in hand. And then a lot of us, the people that we are, have perfectionistic tendencies and are very independent and would rather not ask for help, which sort of exacerbates the whole thing. So yeah, we look at recovery as failure, and I really would challenge you not to look at it that way. If maybe you've relapsed for like 8 or 9 times for the same reason, you can start to look at, what's going wrong, what am I doing wrong? But until then, you're not doing anything wrong. Until then, you're just recovering, because recovery and relapse are together, and the way that I view it so much, like it's very important for me to view it this way, is that as long as I don't relapse for the same reason more than once, I'm not failing. I'm growing, and that's really important for me. And yeah, so I guess that's just the way that I view it. I can relapse as much as I need to, but eventually, when I cross that reason off my list of reasons to relapse, or reasons or explanations or justifications for relapse, then the list for reasons and justifications and explanations for relapse gets smaller and smaller, and eventually there's not going to be anything on there. And at that point, I won't be relapsing anymore. So really, relapse is just it's a process of growth, and it's not failure at all. I really encourage you to look at it that way. The other thing that I find really important too is, before you even start relapsing, before you just with a counselor, with therapists or whatever, I think it's really important to qualify and quantify what a relapse is. This is especially important for people with eating disorders such as anorexia or compulsive overeating, because as a stress response, it's really normal either to not eat or to overeat. All of humanity fits into either or category, and it's very normal. And it's even very normal to comfort yourself with food, and it's even healthy. It's just not healthy when it's done to excess. So I find that it's really helpful to sort of figure out what does a relapse mean for me. How much weight is it that I lose? The other thing is, you get ill and you get sick and stuff, and sometimes you can lose weight that way, and that's not relapse. That's part of life. How often do I have to engage in this sort of eating disorder behavior? How long? So once you figure out what that is and what a relapse means, then you're really good to go, I think. Because, your eating disorder, once you're in the middle of a relapse, will be able to explain everything away as normal. But if you decided beforehand that it's not healthy, it's not normal, then you're so on top of it, it's great. and you'll be able to get help a lot faster. That's what I found. The other thing is that there tends to be two groups of people, and you're not either stuck in either or, but there are people who never really get past the stage of stable. You go from sort of like danger zone or unhealthy zone where you really, really can't function anymore in life, and then you go get help, or usually you have to go away or stop life to get some sort of structured help, and and then they never get past that, and there's something holding them back, and it's almost as if they know ahead of time that their recovery won't last. And I've been in that stage, and I think that it's very normal to be in that stage for a bit, and I think that most of you, I'm kind of hoping to offer this as like advice, or as consolation and reassurance rather than advice or lectures or preaching or whatever. But most of you, I think, fall in a second group, which is where most of us fall, and that is if you are really motivated towards recovery, so much so that you're watching YouTube videos on it, then it's gonna last. It's not when, or it's not if, it's when. It's gonna happen for you. It's just you have to. There's some bumps along the road first. It's when it's intrinsically motivated. Extrinsic motivators are great. I wouldn't I don't discount them at all. I think that when your job's on the line, when your spouse is going to leave you, when your kids are really upset and that kind of thing, that can be a great motivator. I don't discount that at all. But once it's intrinsically motivated and you've decided that, you want to live and you want a life, whether you feel like you deserve it or not, but you've decided that that's what you're going to do because you want it, then it's intrinsically motivated. And at that point, it's going to last. I promise you, it will last. I just don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know when it's going to happen for me either, but I know I'll get there. And then so the last thing is that a lot of people, when they start relapsing and they've realized that they've relapsed, just kind of go, oh, screw it all, and and just I'll wait till I'm sick and I have to go away and I have to have structured ways of dealing with stuff, and someone else will take control away from me, and that's I'll just start from scratch again. No. Some of the best work that I've done in recovery has been sort of mid-relapse, before I've hit rock bottom, or that rock bottom that, I say doesn't exist. Before I've hit a point where I'm so low that I'm, physically compromised, a lot of my work for recovery has been done there, and it's been the best work I've ever done. You do not, one of the things that I would always tell people is that you don't need to be sick to be relapsing. You can be almost there and be relapsing, and you don't need to be at the stage where an intervention is so physically necessary to have relapsed. That's what I mean. When you qualify and quantify it, you can catch it earlier, and eventually your relapses become shorter and less significant and less disruptive, and eventually, it's just it's less of a bump. It's, instead of going really, really far down, you only go a little bit down. And, there are so many things that you can do in your normal life. You can structure it so that you have support and structure and motivation, and you don't have to stop your life. You can ask friends, you can ask family and that sort of thing to provide to you what might have been helpful in the past in your recovery, that super structured supportive treatment. You don't have to wait until you need it again. You can just ask for it and sort of start before you have to stop, if that makes any sense. And at that point, you sort of hit the ground running, and it's much more beneficial that way. Lasts a lot, the relapses last a lot less long, and I've definitely encouraged that. That's my whole spiel on that. I definitely look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great Saturday, everyone. Cheers.